um, welcome everybody here. We all had an opportunity to go to Denver for the official Maine Pets training a few weeks ago. It was one of the last gatherings of human beings on the planet before the pandemic began. And I think we recognized a little bit that this was the sort of thing that might not be happening for a while. So it's interesting now that just a few weeks later, we are living in that reality that we kind of thought could possibly maybe happen. And it's kind of a scary time. But this is also a time when Rotary is acutely needed in the world. Think about the level on which we work is both global and local. And a global pandemic that affects literally every community on the planet just screams for help from Rotary. Our communities desperately need us. They desperately need the leadership that the Rotary presidents will provide this year. And so I want to encourage all of you to take this responsibility seriously and remember that what you do as a president of a Rotary Club literally, and I mean this, it literally saves lives. And it's not just the kids we save with polio drops, but in so many other ways, we're making a difference that keeps communities going. I drive around the state a lot, and I see Rotary signs and Rotary parks everywhere I go. Here in Salt Lake, I love to run, and I get up and I run, and I pass a Rotary park on my run every morning. And it's just a reminder of the tremendous impact we have. And so I just want you to remember that what you are doing as a Rotary Club president matters, and to take everything you hear today seriously, to be excited, and to go out and do it. With that, I'll turn the time back over to you, Linda.
And I thought we were having an inspirational, do we have someone?
I invited someone to do it who's not here. So I would suggest we just proceed.
Okay. All right. Really good. Well, thank you. Suzanne and Eric, we're happy that you're with us, and sorry that you're able to join us in Denver. I think I'm a blogger, so I'm always thinking in terms of what my next blog post is going to be. And it occurred to me the other day that there's always a where. If you think at the beginning, at the end of every year, they pick a word of the year. And I think if there could be a word of the year so far in 2020, it would have to be canceled. And that word applies to everything we've been doing in the last little while. I keep a running calendar at my house that tells me what is coming up, and I virtually have nothing on my calendar. We started out the year with 7 potential graduates in our family, and we're down to none. Not because they're not graduating, but because there's no ceremony to recognize that. And it makes me very sad. It also made me very sad to hear last night that we have canceled our district conference in Park City. Before that, we got word that they Calgary International Convention in Honolulu. And before that, I mean, you all know something in your community that has been canceled. And the one bright light is I've noticed on the internet that there's a whole lot more faith-based comments and a whole lot more humor than I remember for a while. I really think that this kind of circumstance brings out the best in people as well as the worst, but I'm laughing out loud at some of the things that I've seen on the internet, particularly those about toilet paper and bottles. So anyway, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay distanced until this craziness is over. I wanted to talk for just a few minutes about Denver. Denver was incredible, and I'm so grateful that it was. We went to Denver as almost virtual strangers. We had a goal of 45 to get a representative from each club in the district to Denver, and we ended up with 48. It was amazing, but those people pretty much came in as strangers. And after 3 days together, we've formed new friendships. We learned together, we socialized together, we laughed together, we even danced together. And I think through all of this that's going on in the world, we'll always have Denver. So that you weren't there, but those of you who sent a representative from your club, we were very impressed and delighted with those that we met. This is your 2021 classmates. Obviously, not everyone from Utah, the Utah district, was there, but it was a good group that showed up. And right next to me on the international president, whose name is Holger Knack, Knaack. And you've probably already heard the Rotary theme for our year, as Rotary opens opportunities. I have to tell you that I was surprised by that theme, because I expected that there'd be some reference to 2020 vision or seeing the vision or something like that. And so when he announced that, I thought, oh, well, that's not what I would have picked. But you know what? It really is a good and fitting theme for our. You're going to be hearing a lot more about that as we go along in over the next few weeks and months. But this is Holger. Holger had a really high visibility theme set, a strong focus on youth, more than I've heard any previous RI president talk about. Holger believed, and as we all should, that Rotary is aging out. The average age for Rotarians worldwide is 65. And what that means, obviously, is that we're just, unless we change the way we think about recruiting and bringing in younger members, we're gonna be gone in 10 years, maybe sooner than that. It's just a frightening thing to consider. Holger was very strong, had a lot to say about Rotaract and the importance of Rotaract as our future, developing Rotaract clubs, developing strong Rotaractors who will transition into Rotary. And he also mentioned that he doesn't think that Rotarians have enough fun. Now, I'm German by heritage, and so that kind of came as a surprise to me that he from Germany thinks that Rotarians need to have more fun. So there is a push at this point that we may add a fifth to our four-way test. I'm not sure how to say that, but and that is what we say in many of our meetings, is it fun? And so we're going to see more of that. Holger is a very warm, approachable, pleasant man, and I think he's going to have a real impact on the future of Rotary in the world. You all have, I hope, have been receiving my emails and letters leading up to Pets in Denver. I was very pleased to hear from several of the PEs in Denver who said, you know, oh, I got the homework done, or I didn't get the homework, or I should, you know, I'm not quite done, but I'm going to finish at home. And I was pleased to hear that. So I'm hoping that that carries over to even to those who were not with us in Colorado. But one of the most important things that I want our club presidents is to become very familiar with Club Central, Rotary Club Central. This photo that I have on the screen right now is the Rotary Club of St. George. This is the dashboard. Kind of see, and Scott will recognize this membership trends, all these blue lines here that refer to the changes in club membership. And this is a 5-year trend. This is looking at 5-year trends, and we're definitely on the upside. We're going to be we're going to be inducting our 64th member. I'm not sure why it says 62 on here, Scott. Maybe you can answer that, because on the goals side, it shows us at 63.
Yeah, there's a lag sometimes between when you report a new member and it shows up. Just, I guess it depends on when.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, we're about, our goal this year was 65, and we're about to induct our 64th with 3 more months to go in this year. So we're hopeful to reach that goal. The gender trends, you can see that we have 11 women, and well, according to this, yeah, we have 11 women and 52 men, which is a total of 63. So, interesting. But I'd like all of us to be really familiar with Rotary Club Central, because this is where we set our goals. This is where we track our progress, and it's an excellent tool. And I'd like for District 5420 to have 100% of our clubs that are reporting on in Rotary Club Central. In the interest of time, I'm going to stop here, and we'll move on to, oh no, I have 10 more minutes, right?
So Linda, I thought of something. That the bar graph, that might be as of July 1st, the blue bars, whereas the graph that shows gender trends might be, you know, as of year to date. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, I really encourage all of you new incoming presidents to make yourself very familiar with Rotary Club Central. It's a great tool. I think you're going to find many reasons to rejoice that Rotary has done such a good job of providing us with this kind of a tool for our tracking our trends. As you can, I'm sorry. As you can, this is a little squirrely today. As you can see on the left side, it has goal center. That's where you go in and tell how many projects you're going to do and what activities you're going to, and everything that has been included in the letters that I've been sending out includes goal setting, and we'll spend more time on that in a minute. The other thing that is really is the service activities, and that's where you report your service projects. Now, getting back to the word canceled, our club has done for 15 years, our club has traveled to Guam once a year to build cinder block stoves for Mayan families. And that has been our biggest service project. Last year, it was well over $100,000. This has been canceled. And so our goals are going to plummet, our numbers are going to plummet, and I hope that RI is sympathetic to all of this, because we're going to look like we haven't done. So that worries me a little bit, but there you have it. Also on here is resources. So any of those booklets, brochures, information about a club, you're going to be able to find a lot of that information just by simply clicking on resources. So, all right. The question for this year has been, what about the Rotary citation? When you get onto the 2019-2020 page, boy, I'm not sure why this is bouncing around so much. When you get on the 2019-20 page, it has a link that says Rotary Citation that you can click on, and it will tell you what your club has done toward the Rotary Citation based on the goals that you selected. In 2020, there is no link to a Rotary Citation. So in order to get to the goals toward that award, you have to click on all, and it will drop down 20 goals for you to select. You'll notice it will say, in some cases, it will say as of, and then a number, which is the date. And so that is information that goes direct to Rotary International, and they post to your site. So you don't have to do anything there. And in our case, it shows 63 toward our goal of 65 this year. And we haven't had to do anything other than go recruit those people and put them into Rotary Club Central as new members. And then it shows up as of. There are a lot of these where you have to go in and manually make those changes. So you've had, and I can't see right now which ones those are, but be aware that there's some that are just automatically put in and others that you have to put in yourself. But there are 25 goals, of which for the Rotary Citation, you will pick 13. And you can't see all 25 unless you click on all, and then it drops that whole list. So are there any questions on the Rotary Citation? Not a thing, huh? Okay. We've talked about goals in the past. The district governor routinely sets goals for the year. And so to go through the goals that I have selected, and I've had several people say, yikes, that's a big long list. But I can tell you that they link to those 25 that are listed on the Rotary Citation, of which, again, you only have to pick 13. So the first is to plant. This is our 115th year of Rotary. We just, on February 23rd, we celebrated our 113th year, our 15th year. So using that 115 as our indicator, I'd like to ask you to plant 115 trees. I'd like to see 115 new social events. Now, again, Holger has said that he doesn't think that Rotarians have enough fun. So fun needs to be part of those 115 new social events. And then where you complete 115 new, bigger, better, and bolder, and those are Holger's words, service projects which change lives. So there's two things there. One is that your events bigger, better, and bolder, and the second is that they need to change lives. We're asking that we induct a net gain of 115 new Rotarians, and I have to tell you that's going to be the hard one. Am I right? Net increase means that that's over and above those that we delete or those that we lose in the year. The next one is to have us add 115 Paul Harris Society members. And I was going to double check this number, but the last number that I saw for District 5420 is that we had 85 out of 1,700 Paul Harris Society members. Devin, is Scott on the agenda? Scott Leckman?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so he'll talk more about the Paul Harris Society, but the description of the Paul Harris Society is these are people who give $1,000 a year to the Rotary Foundation, and the to do that is at a rate of $85 a month, and that will give you a Paul Harris Society membership. We'd also like to recruit 115 new Rotaract. Rotaract is still something that kind of is the best kept secret. These are young people ages 18 and above who are equal Rotary membership and who do service in their community at a large or small rate. But it used to be that these were college, they had with a college or university. That is no longer the case. If they're over 18 and they want to participate, they're invited to do so by contacting their Rotaract club. And we do have a list of that as well. Finally, I'd like to see these our clubs appear 115 times in the newspaper or be on the radio. And this is over and above social. There is a mindset, particularly among our younger members, that nobody reads the newspaper anymore and nobody listens to the radio other than for music and entertainment. The reality is that there are wonderful talk shows on the radio for which there's always a need for somebody to come on and talk about their cause. And many people still read the newspaper. Now, I am the first to admit that there's probably an age group that prefers the newspaper over the internet, but it's still something that we get, and it's a great way to reach out to people who do get the paper. And yeah, I don't know what the percentages are, but I know in our community that there are several newspapers that people enjoy and read. So looking for how do you get in the paper and what do you say? The answer is that you're going to tell the community about your events that are coming up, your fundraising that is coming up. Then you go back and you tell them how you did. And if that's not enough, then there are some Rotary specific days that you can promote. As I mentioned, February 23rd is Rotary Day. We just celebrated our 115th year. Rotaract Week was sadly, it was last week, and I'm sure it got lost in the shuffle of all this coronavirus and everything else is going. But for next year, it's March 8th through the 14th, and that will still be in our Rotary year. June 5th is Environmental Protection Day, and that would be a perfect time to plant those 15 trees. World Polio Day on October 24th, and you'll hear more about that from Scott Leckman. And then finally is World Rotary Day at the United Nations. And watch for more information on that. I will be sending that out as we get closer to that time in the year. Now, if you're all sitting there like other PEs have been saying, how are we going to have 115 new social events in our club? The answer is you're not. You're going to schedule 2 or 3. We have 45 clubs, and if every single club in the district, each of these things 2 or 3 times, they would reach that goal. We would reach that goal. And the prize for the top 7 clubs, the ones that do the most of these 7 things, will be a $400 rate to next year's High Country Pets. And also, as presidents-elect, I really, really encourage you to join our Utah Rotary 2020-2021 Facebook group. It is a closed group by invitation, and it's an opportunity for us to share information among ourselves. And so far, it's been pretty popular, pretty well attended. So I'm going to stop there, and Devin, back to you.
Thanks, Linda. Great job. That's great information and some really great, thought to start the day. Let's see if I can steal the sharing. Yes, I can steal the sharing, so I will steal your sharing.
Would you like me to go off?
No, you don't need to. I will steal it. That's
Okay.
how mean I am.
Okay, that's fine.
Just a meanie. Okay, there we go. Share the sound. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to try to compress, honestly and truly, 6 hours of training that I did in Denver into 45 minutes. Now, I could just talk really fast. But I think instead I will try to hit the high points and give you some resources that you can go to offline to supplement the training that we'll do today. But let me jump in. To start, let me tell you just a little bit about myself. For those of you who are on your computers, you can see this little picture of me. It's a little bit hard to tell which one is me, but I'm the little hobbit on the right in this picture. When I was young, when I was about 11 years old, the Teton Dam failed. And some of you probably never even heard of that, but the Teton Dam is located near Rexburg, which is in southern Idaho. And it left about 80% of the structures in Rexburg damaged or destroyed. It was a big deal. Killed about 13 people and thousands upon thousands of animals. That summer, people from all around the West rallied around and went up to Rexburg to help. And so one day that summer, my father came to me and said, "Devin, I'm going to go up to Rexburg with a group on Saturday. Would you like to come?" And, I thought digging muck and mud out of basements sounded like a good time. So I said, sure. And I remember excitedly riding on the bus up to Rexburg and sort of remember seeing every single, telephone pole on the route. I was so excited. We got there about dawn, worked all day until it got dark, and then got back on the buses and came home. I really felt like I had made a huge difference in the world. In fact, I recently went back to Rexburg to look for the statue that I was sure had been erected in my honor, and it was not. It was the oddest thing. So upon reflection, I realized that I actually was probably in the way. I probably didn't make any difference at all, but it was a life-changing experience that prepared me, perhaps defined me as a Rotarian long before I would join Rotary. But it focused me on helping other people. And so I vowed that I would never miss an opportunity to do good. I did. I went on to have a successful finance career and missed some opportunities to serve others. But when I finally got fired nearly a decade ago from the best job I'd ever had, I channeled that enthusiasm of my youth and set out on a new career doing good, and among other things, joined Rotary. So since then, I've now decided to run for Congress to continue that effort. Oops, I forgot a couple of my fancy slides here. Let me just tell you quickly a story. I'm kind of a little short, a little bit rounded on the edges sort of guy, and so I don't look like a runner, but I actually do run pretty regularly. And in fact, as I mentioned before we really got started, I run up City Creek Canyon near our home and past a little Rotary Park. Very occasionally, I'll run up to the top of the canyon where there's another Rotary Park. And I don't usually run that far. That's about a 14-mile round trip run to get up to the park. But one day when I was up running in the canyon, I came across a mountain lion that I saw sort of dart off into the trees, and really, got my attention. Around the next bend in the road, as I was running along, I saw three attractive middle-aged women walking down the canyon, and I thought, wow, maybe I should say something to the women about the mountain lion. And I just had an instant to say something, and I was tired from the run and not maybe thinking clearly, and I just blurted out, "Beware of the cougar." And about a mile later, up the road, I realized that I might have said that a little differently than to refer to a cougar to three attractive middle-aged women. But in any case, it reminds me that I need to be thoughtful about how I express myself. And so today I will try to be a little more effective in my communication with you. Here is a critical substantive point. No more silliness. On the screen, I'm showing the cover of a pamphlet or booklet that is your most critical resource as a president-elect. This is the president, this is your manual for running your club. So I want to make sure that you track this down and get it. You can just Google it. If you don't have a printed copy, it's easy to find on the internet. Just Google Lead Your Club Rotary President, and you'll get it. It's available at district5420.info as well. So just feel free to track that down. If you have any trouble finding it, let me know, and I will make sure you get a digital copy. And I think Linda has either sent you or has copies for you if you want a physical copy. But this is your guide, and I'm going to show you the substance of just one page here. So what is on the screen now, I think is 1 or 2 pages. And this is all I'm going to go over from the manual directly today. But this outlines your responsibility as a president-elect and then as a president. And as you look at this, it's an intimidating list. There is so much to know. I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be reassured. All you need to know is in this little booklet. So if you will go through that booklet, you will know what you need to do, and you will be able to be an effective president. So I want to just, in the strongest possible terms, encourage you to get the booklet and to read it and consume it. Now, one of the messages, one of the concepts I've stumbled across in my years in Rotary is that there are 3 keys to a good service project. And in terms of motivating and engaging your members. And partly I've learned this from watching our work with polio. Because oftentimes our work with polio is none of these things. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do polio. To the contrary, I am the biggest fan for our fight to eradicate polio. And it's never been clearer that the work is tough. Eradicating polio, even though it's really now seems to be circulating only in one country. Last I checked, there hadn't been any cases outside of Pakistan this year. Now it's early in the year, and so maybe there'll be a few in Afghanistan again. But in terms of wild polio, it may be down to one country. But last year there were 176 cases, up a little bit. It feels like a never-ending process. And the people who are impacted by polio live far away from us. We don't get to see them. We don't get to shake their hands, at least not very often. And it's not always fun. We have the last couple of years at our district conference, we've had some fun with the pennies for polio, but some of the things we do for polio aren't really fun. So I want to talk about these 3 concepts of finished, face-to-face, and fun. Now, every service project can't be all 3. There are a lot of reasons. A global grant project is probably going to take more than a year. It's going to span more than your year as president. Not all, but most. They're big, challenging projects. So you can't necessarily finish it in a day or a month or even a Rotary year. Often global grants are impossible to do face-to-face, at least for most members of the club. And sometimes they're not very fun. So I don't want to suggest that every project should be these 3 things. But I do want to suggest that it is important for the morale of the club to do one project at least each year that is one of these 3 things. And maybe it's one project that is all 3. So the first is to do a project that you can actually finish in your Rotary year, and perhaps can be finished even in a day, so that the club has the satisfaction of starting and ending the project. It just is way cooler to be able to say, we did that thing. We solved that problem. Bam, we raised the money and we built a new swing at the school. We bought a new photocopier for the school, whatever it is. We did something specific. We started it and finished it. Second, it's important to do a project that is face-to-face. As I mentioned with polio and a lot of our global grant projects, we never get to see the people we're helping. Some of the things we do, though, lend themselves nicely to that, like giving away dictionaries. But that only works if Rotarians participate in that face-to-face delivery of books to children. So look for a project where you can engage that way. And then finally, doing something that's fun. So, for instance, I think the Bountiful Club has about the most fun of any club every year with it's a huge fundraising project they do to raise money for coats for kids in school that don't have coats. And they raise the money to buy hundreds and hundreds of coats with their annual car show. And it is one of the biggest events that happens in Bountiful all year. The whole community comes out. It is a big deal, all organized by the Rotary Club. And it is just a riot. It is absolutely a ball. And lots of clubs do, I shouldn't say lots, but several other clubs do car shows and have a similar experience. So we're going to actually take a minute now, and I think we just have 2 PEs on the call, but Suzanne and Eric, are you both there? Can you unmute yourselves and acknowledge your presence? I'm hoping you haven't run away and just left your your Zoom on. Looks like you've unmuted yourselves. Good, you're really here. So Suzanne and Eric, I want to challenge you with no input from Scott, Linda, Devin, or Mike, the district leadership. I would like to challenge you to take the next 5 to 8 minutes to plan one service project that incorporates all 3 of these concepts: finished, face-to-face, and fun, with the goal of trying to create a project that is something people would actually want to participate in, okay? Eric and Suzanne, are you up for that challenge?
I'll work on it.
Okay, so I want you two to work together. We won't interrupt, but you two, I want you to plan it together, right? So I want you to talk to each other and figure out what the project will be and how it will be executed to accomplish, to incorporate those 3 things, and figure out who it will help and how it will help, okay?
Devin, I think we have a 3rd PE on there. Do we have a 3rd PE?
Yeah, this is Kelly Crane. I'm on here.
Oh, good. Well, Kelly, I'm so sorry. I apologize for not having Kelly. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so the 3 of you, please, I'd like the 3 of you to just talk amongst yourselves. We promise not to interrupt. Plan a project, and then we'll move on, okay? But I think this is an important exercise.
Any ideas from anybody to begin with?
Well, I just have a question. Does it have to be something new, or can we just kind of piggyback on something that we've done?
I would rather you do something new. You can you can fertilize your ideas with your past, but please think of something new.
Well, one thing that I've thought of over the past while is kind of taking from what another group does. I participated in the Cedar City Rotary golf scramble a few times from a professional standpoint, and so I've talked with my club a little bit about the opportunity to put together a golf scramble that would benefit those that like to golf, but also be fun for a lot of the Rotary members, and look to what we could spend those proceeds on in our community to better something in our community. So that's one that I've thought of and been toying with. I got quite a bit of resistance from some of the old hats at my Rotary Club, but that's one that I've been thinking about.
I'm a golfer, so I like that idea, doing a golf tournament, I'll admit. But I mean, I think the key in that is what are the funds, what is going to happen from that, what are the proceeds going to be used. I think that's how you're going to have to be able to sell it. And how the only trouble, we tried that many years ago. It's getting everyone involved that aren't golfers. I mean, I think like I said, I'm a golfer. It's a great idea, And heck, I'd come down and help you and do it.
Good.
And I would love to take that idea. One of the things that I've been flirting with for, I don't know, several years is doing a golf scramble, a golf tournament, but doing it as a glow in the dark one. I don't know if you guys have ever played in one of those, but you have these balls that glow in the dark, and it's so fun and it's unique, and nobody really does it across the state.
Ooh, I like that idea.
I like that idea too.
It's really fun, really fun. You just see these colorful balls flying across the sky, and you would think you would lose your ball, but you really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I've never participated in one of those, so I'd be very interested in looking at that.
Excuse me, this is Mike Wells. I know we're not supposed to participate, but just the Tooley Club has been doing a nighttime golf tournament for about 10 years now. And it's very successful, and it's a highlight event in our area. And we generally raise $12,000 to $15,000 every year for our project.
Okay, that's good input, Mike. Let's let our presidents do their thing.
Exactly. I just want to let them know it is going on, and if they want any questions, they can contact me later. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. So getting to kind of what you mentioned there on, I think it was Eric that talked about, getting to something to do for that. We have historically done planting of trees for a community center that we have here. We've done service at, a women's shelter that seems to be quite, more attended than we would like here in Richfield. Richfield's quite a central place, and so we've done quite a bit of service there. We've also looked at, doing some improvements on our Rotary Park, and we're looking at doing some restrooms there this year, and so this could be some proceeds that could really go to help improve some restrooms next to a playground that we have there. So those were kind of the areas that I was thinking about using the proceeds to benefit.
I mean, those all sound good. I think in our club, our fundraisers, we've just put it into our foundation and then used it for a lot of different things. But I think, if, like I said, we can zero in on something, maybe even something new for us, that to get people excited. And like I say, I like this idea of this nighttime thing. I think people would be intrigued, and we'd get a lot of participation. So I guess it's the next step. I think that's a great way to raise the funds. In our club, how do we zero in on some project, which like I said, I think is the important thing.
Would it make sense to align with the district goals of planting 115 trees? That may be the focus of what the money's used for? Would people get behind something like that?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, meet the goals for Linda, but also say this is what we're doing. I like that.
The other thing that type of event does for me is when you're going out to businesses or others to try and sponsor something, it feels like it feels a lot easier to me to talk to a business or a donor in the community to get them to sponsor something like a golf tournament. It feels just a little easier to ask that question, and that's kind of one of the reasons I push that, is because I want that opportunity to be easier rather than just showing up and saying, hey, we're here for our annual we need money drive.
Right. Yeah, I found the two things, like I said, for a golf tournament, but even one step further, they can participate in the golf tournament if they want, but also help sponsor it. But these are the things we are using it for, one or two things. Like I said, we're going to go back, our goal is to plant 115 trees throughout the state or whatever. I find it easier in that too.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, and I think the beauty of it too is it opens up the conversation about what is Rotary. And it's a great recruitment mechanism too, because as you're championing and selling it, we're also recruiting new members.
Right.
Exactly. Very good.
Well, guys, I think you've done a tremendous job of planning an event. And I hope you not only think about actually doing something like that in your clubs, but I hope you'll also reflect on how quickly you came up with some greatness, right? It took 8 minutes for you to plan in remarkable detail an event that went from maybe golf to nighttime golf, and then pretty soon we know what the money's for and how we're going to spend it. So I mean, you made remarkable progress. I encourage you to just incorporate that everything you learned from that experience in your Rotary year this year.
Devin, can I just say that
Please.
Each club only has to plant 2 or 3 trees, not 115. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we don't want to discourage anyone from planting trees, though.
No, I mean, by all means, if you want to plant 115, that's all great, but it's only 2 or 3.
Yeah, a few years ago, the Rotary president Ian Risley suggested that plant one per Rotarian, and I think our district beat that goal that year.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit, and I hope you'll forgive me. Again, I'm trying to summarize 6 hours of training, but one of the things that I think is most important from the training I did in Denver is to share some insights from Rotary International leaders about their superpowers. Because I think all of you as presidents-elect, have superpowers you may not fully appreciate. And I want you to appreciate the power you have to change the world and do good. And the first topics we're going to talk about are patience, optimism, and inspiration. And this came from a discussion I had with Bill Gates and Barry Rassin, who is the RI president last year. So during Scott Leckman's RI year, Rotary year, Barry was the president. He's from the Bahamas, and you may recall that last fall, the Bahamas was devastated by a hurricane, and Barry has played a very prominent role in the recovery efforts internationally. I think I saw him on the CBS News one night because he's played such a role there, because in part of his Rotary leadership. Anyway, so as I was talking to Bill and Barry, Bill talked about his superpowers being tied to his patience and optimism. And Barry described his as having to do with his ability to inspire others. So let me just play this short clip for you. Oh, I bet it's not going to work. So hang on. I'm going to make it work. I did it right. I'm sorry. It was going to work, but it's going to be good. Don't worry. Okay. Can you see it again? Any problem seeing? Okay. So here we go. A few years ago, you wrote about superpowers in your annual letter. What is your superpower?
Well, if I have one, it has something to do with optimism about scientific innovation and being able to gather teams of people, whether it's, we talked about disease modeling, where there's, it's a whole deep expertise to help us predict where we're not getting coverage, what we need to do, or, people who know about vaccine manufacturing or running big trials. And so my experience at Microsoft was assembling teams of engineers and, understanding what was on track, off track, being patient for things that In that case, usually took 5 or 6 years. And in the world of medicine, unfortunately, it's like 10 years. The HIV vaccine, between when people started working on it and when we'll finally have one, that will have been almost 25 years. So the patients required the need to have multiple strategies. So it's there in pushing for innovation, seeing the opportunity of innovation, and then directing the resources that I'm lucky enough to have.
President Barry, what's your superpower?
Our theme in Rotary this year is to be the inspiration. And I'm very fortunate that when I speak with Rotarians, I'm able to give a message that really seems to get them in their hearts. And we're seeing them do more than we've seen before. So inspiring people and getting our Rotary clubs motivated, not only to continue doing the amazing work, they know that's our priority is to eradicate polio, and they keep asking, what's next?
Yeah.
Just let's finish polio. Let's not have a next yet.
I think as you think about these ideas, these key concepts, patience, optimism, and inspiration, I think you can see how you can cultivate those talents, those skills in your approach, right? Optimism can be learned. Sometimes we talk about people as being, pessimists or realists or optimists, but I think we can all be a little more optimistic if we consciously choose to be. So I encourage you to try to develop those superpowers, because you'll see that the impact it has not only on your club, but on your community. Now, if you're curious, you can see the full interview with Bill and Barry at bit.ly/Devin and Bill. And if you want to get my slides, you can just go to the URL. This doesn't really look like a URL, but I promise it is slides.devin.today. Just jot that down and you can download the slides later on. Holger Kanak is the RI president-elect, and Linda talked a lot about him. And part of the reason she talked about him so much is that he is really a charismatic, great human being. And I really have come to love and admire him. And in fact, I said in Denver, in front of him and thankfully none of the other RI presidents, that I've had the opportunity to meet and interview several RI, current and past RI presidents. And Holger's my favorite. He's just an amazing human being. And when I asked him what his superpower was, he said, I love people. I thought, what a powerful superpower to love people. So let me just play the clip of my interview with him where he talks about this. What is your superpower?
Oh, that's a great question. That's difficult to answer. Overall, I really love people. I really love people. I really love to be together with people. And I think I learned over the years to listen, simply to listen, and then thinking. And
I realized that loving everyone in the way that Holger does is difficult. I'm not going to lie or exaggerate. It really is difficult. But if you were to set a goal to just love the members of your club this year, does that seem like a reasonable goal? I'm hoping that as you think about Rotary and your role as president, that you can see that just loving the members of your club is an achievable goal, and that it would completely change the way that you operate and the impact you would have as a club president. Now, you can see the whole interview with Holger, who is an amazing guy, at bit.ly/Rotary Connect. Let's talk about connection. Rotary is a powerful organization in and of itself. And one of the things that it does is it connects us to people all around the world. one of my favorite people in the district is Brent Thorne. He's just a remarkable, remarkable human being. Such a good guy. And he's led a number of global grants around the world. And so he has developed a deep network of people all around the world, largely through Rotary. And so this is Jennifer Jones. She visited Utah. She is one of the most powerful women in Rotary. I think she is the most likely to be and become the first woman president of Rotary International. I'm excited to see that happen, and I think she'll be the one. But let me just play the clip of my interview with her. What is your superpower?
So this is going to probably sound corny or like it's like I staged it or planned it, but President Mark this year, his theme of Rotary Connects the World really resonates with me. And so I think my superpower, well, is maybe connectivity. That, I love being able to, know someone in one country and someone in another country, and then find a way that they connect. So this one gal, she's like, okay, it's my turn. And so we do a selfie, and her name was Dolly, 34-year-old Dolly. Just met her that day. And so I said, Dolly, we should become Facebook friends, and then you can send me the photo or post it and tag me, and we'll stay connected. So she sets up a hotspot. I go on. We find each other. I send her the request. She accepts it, and it pops up and it says, you have 11 friends in common. I said, you know Holger in Germany, who's now our president-elect? Right. You know Julio in Mexico? You know Maynard in America? Like, it went on. And these were real, authentic relationships, not Facebook friends.
Right.
One Maynard was her host youth exchange dad. I mean, so it went on, and I just thought, I just met you. But here we have all of this connectivity already because Rotary.
Yeah. It really is powerful. And I hope you will all take advantage of that global network that Rotary represents. It really is exciting. And I know that right now it feels like we'll never be back on airplanes again. But our current status quo is not the future. Before your Rotary year is up, I am confident we will all be back on airplanes. We'll all be back in big meetings. It's going to be, the future of your year is great, and that connectivity can be developed really powerfully to do good and have fun. So you can see my interview with her if you want at bit.ly/RotaryGen. Now, let's talk about one last observation. I was talking to Mark Maloney, and, Mark is an extraordinary human being. He's Rotary International president. I mean, you recognize that takes, an incredible human being to do that job. It really is a challenging position to hold, and it's exceptionally difficult to be chosen to do that from among 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. But it was interesting what he said when I asked him about his superpower. And I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll let you watch this clip to see his superpower. President, what is your superpower?
I don't have a superpower. As I said earlier, I'm an ordinary person who, through Rotary, has the opportunity to accomplish extraordinary things. And every Rotarian has that power. I don't have a superpower. This is not an organization. It's the connection, it's the coming together that creates superpower results. It's not any one person by himself or herself.
It's a powerful principle, right? you all have the Rotary superpower because you are Rotary. You are leaders in Rotary. You are club presidents. So you have the ability to wield the superpower of Rotary. And I hope you will take that opportunity seriously. You can see the full interview with Mark at bit.ly/Rotary Mark. And let me just share one story in conclusion here. But when I turned 40 a while back, I complied strictly with the Utah law that requires all men to acquire a Harley Davidson on their 40th birthday. And you can see, this is a picture of my beautiful wife there with the Harley the day I bought it. And I was very excited. And after I took this picture, my wife said to me, you know, Devin, I'm never going to get on this motorcycle with you. You understand that, right? And I said, I totally understand. I'm not sure I want to be on this motorcycle with me, but I totally understand that you don't. And so I took the motorcycle and I parked it in the underground parking where we live, and downtown Salt Lake. And Gail came down to see the bike again, and she said, well, maybe you could just give me a ride around the parking garage. And I like to say, thus began our extended menage a trois. The three of us were almost inseparable thereafter. And so if I had to go run an errand, go to the grocery store, Gail would say, oh, can I come? Let's take the motorcycle. And so that's just how it was. And we just had a ball. We went everywhere. And so about 90 days after I bought the motorcycle, we got invited to do some business up in the thriving metropolis of Soda Springs, Idaho, up in southern Idaho. And Soda Springs has its own real fake geyser, hence the name Soda Springs. And so we went up there, and we rode up Friday night up to Logan and stayed in Logan. And then we rode up from Logan on Saturday morning to do our business up in Soda Springs. And we had lunch there, and then we rode the bike down to Bear Lake on the Utah-Idaho border. And then we rode over to Evanston, Wyoming. We ran out of gas, and Gail gave me grief about that. She doesn't give me grief about this anymore. And then we cruised on into Park City. We had dinner there, and then we cruised on into Salt Lake. Long day. And just as we were coming into the Spaghetti Bowl on the freeway, the big I-80, I-15 interchange, we got cut off in traffic and went down on the freeway going about 60 miles an hour. Now, I slid across that sort of corduroy concrete, but Gail tumbled. And so when I came to a stop, I was a little disoriented, but I looked for her immediately, and I could see she was about 20 or 30 feet in front of me. So I just started crawling toward her across the concrete there on the freeway. And as I did, I heard what really remains to this day to be the most beautiful sound I ever heard. And that was, I heard Gail crying and knew she wasn't dead. I got to her. She was obviously badly hurt and in a lot of pain. And within just a few seconds, an EMT who was off duty stopped and began checking her out to see how she was. She was face down on the freeway. And then before he could do much, a doctor stopped and came over to help. And before he could do much, the on-duty EMTs arrived and scooped Gail up and put her in the ambulance and hauled her up to LDS Hospital. And they spent about 3 hours torturing me. Cleaning my road rash. And then I got a chance to see Gail. Now, because of the trauma and the drugs they would give her to control the pain, she didn't say much that was lucid during her time in the hospital. But there in the emergency room, she looked up at me and said, "Devin, we're selling the motorcycle." And we did. It turned out that she had broken all of her arms and legs. All four of her limbs were broken, and some of them very badly. She had crushed her hand and crushed her knee. And so the next day was Sunday. They kept her in the ICU overnight on Sunday into Monday. And then on Monday morning, they took her into surgery with two teams of surgeons. One team worked on her arm that was most badly broken, and the other team worked on her leg to reassemble her crushed knee and on her femur there to put it back together. And it was horrendous, but she came out of that well. She would go on to have several other surgeries to fix other parts, but the big problems they fixed that first day. But really, for me, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that the low point of this whole experience came about 6 days later after the surgery, when the social worker came to me and said, "Devin, tomorrow we're going to send Gail home." And I just panicked. Gail had 4 broken limbs. She could do literally nothing for herself. She couldn't stand, she couldn't walk, she couldn't do anything. And so I was just panicked. So I reached out to family, friends, and our faith community, and people just rallied around and took care of us. And, I've often said, I felt like a soldier who was all alone, out of ammunition, under fire, and ready to surrender when the cavalry showed up. And the message I want you to take from this story, if you remember nothing else from my message today, is that you are the cavalry. You are the people that come to the rescue. And I want you to remember that sacred role that you have as a Rotary International Club president. Now, I want you, and I'm going to suggest we do this with the stay muted, because otherwise it will distract us from the potency of this exercise. But I want you to imagine that we're doing this perfectly in sync as a group. But we're going to take a pledge here, and we're going to take this pledge 4 times. And the pledge is, I will change the world. And we're going to do it 4 times. I'll lead you. I want you to actually say this, though. Even though no one will hear you say it, I want you to say it. And we're going to do it 4 times. And each time we do it, I want you to emphasize a different word. And so the first time we do it, I want you to emphasize the word I, and think about what it means. And so I'll say it with me. I will change the world. And then now emphasize will. I will change the world. And then the third time, I want you to say change. So emphasize change. I will change the world.
I will change the world.
And then finally, I will change the world. Right? Now, here's the thing. As a Rotary Club president, you will change the world. Okay, my time is up. And I think it is Mike's turn. Is that right, Linda? Is it Mike's turn? I think it is. Oh, it's Scott Florence. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Scott's all ready to go. Mike's with a patient, I think. So, Scott, I'm going to stop sharing. If you want to share, you've got things to share, you can. Otherwise, just take it away.
No, I don't. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes. But first of all, I have to say you're a hard act to follow. So now it's time to get down to reality. Okay, so Linda asked us to talk first about what's new and what's necessary. So first I'll talk about a few things that are kind of new on the horizon. One of the things that we're doing with the district membership committee for next year, starting July 1st, is we're expanding the committee to better serve the needs of the district. So right now, Brett Mickelson is the district membership committee chair, and he will continue, thankfully, on the committee as an assistant chair when I step up. And those of you that know Brett, he's a big guy. He's got big shoes. I don't think I can quite fill his shoes, but I'm going to try. So anyway, we're going to add a few more people to the committee. Right now, there's 3 of us, Brett, Paul Summers, and myself. We're going to expand the committee to probably 5 or 6 members. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can better serve the needs of the clubs, particularly for those of you and your club membership chairs that can't attend assemblies. And this year, when we would normally be doing assembly training, we may not be able to do that. So we'll have the capability to go out and meet with small groups of clubs and take the training out to you. So that's one of the things we're going to do. And the makeup of the new committee is still kind of in flux. There's a few positions that I'm still trying to fill, but when we get everybody in place, hopefully before the end of this Rotary year, we'll put all the new names and faces on the district website, and along with all their contact information, so we can get that out to you all. So any questions on that before I go on? Okay, you know, one of the things that Linda mentioned was growing district membership by 115 members net gain in her year. Another thing that the district's working on right now is a new strategic plan, and that draft strategic plan has a goal to increase net district membership by 10% over 3 years. So if we meet that goal of 115 in the first year, it's going to make it a lot easier to get to the 10%, which comes out to about 170 members. So one of the things we're going to be asking all the clubs to consider is sponsoring new clubs or satellite clubs. So, I mean, obviously growing membership, recruiting and retaining members in existing clubs is important, and we're going to continue to emphasize that. But I don't think that we can we can't meet our goals simply by recruiting and retaining in the existing clubs. In fact, one of the things that Rotary has determined over the last couple of years is the number one fastest way to grow membership is to start new clubs. So we're going to be putting more emphasis on that over the next few years. We've asked a few clubs. We've asked the Spanish Fork Club to consider sponsoring a new club in Price. We have asked the Salt Lake Club to consider starting a satellite club, and Linda has an idea to start a new club in Washington City. So those are a few immediate opportunities, but we're going to be asking all the clubs to look at what they can do, maybe to sponsor new clubs or to sponsor a satellite club. And in terms of numbers, to start a new club, you have to have 20 members before you can charter a new club. Whereas a satellite club, you can start a satellite club with 8 members. So that's just some things to keep in mind. So that's a kind of a daunting task, but any questions about that before I go on? So probably the one thing I would leave you with is both starting a new club or starting a satellite club requires a sponsor club. So a club has to be willing to put the effort into that, which is quite frankly probably a multi-year effort, in that if you're starting a new club, it takes time to recruit the initial members and to work with them, to attend their meetings, to mentor them, help them set up their bank account and all that stuff. So it's an effort, but it's definitely worthwhile. So another new item is we have been looking at club membership data over the last 12 and a half years. The zone puts together and updates it monthly. So this is another good source of information. I know Brett usually sends this out to the clubs monthly, and we'll keep doing that. But you can look at it for your club and see the numbers over the last 12 and a half years since July 1st, 2007. And we started looking at that data, and we found that there were 10 clubs in the district over this 12 and a half year period of time that actually had a net growth of 2 or more members. And in some cases, a couple of clubs had a net growth of anywhere from 20 to 50 members. So we started asking, well, and during the same period of time, the district had a net loss of 300 members. So in 2007, the district had around 2,000 members. Today, we're at about 1,700. So we wanted to figure out, well, what did these 10 clubs do to maintain and grow their club membership over this 12 and a half year period? So we asked them all to provide us as many as 3 reasons why. And so we've got that information and put it together in a report that we're going to be rolling out real soon. We'll put it on the district website. We'll put it out in the district newsletter. But I just wanted to kind of briefly go over, we found kind of 5 common best practices. And as one club president said, there's no secret sauce. It's just, it's good common sense best practices. So number 1, and Linda mentioned the word fun, and this comes out several times in the findings. Probably the number 1 reason was these clubs all had fun and engaging service projects that their members were excited about, and in many cases, the clubs used this as a recruitment opportunity because people in the community could see what the club was doing, they were excited about it, and they wanted to be part of it. The other thing was these clubs have fun and interesting meetings. So fun is probably, if you're not having fun in your club meetings and your club service projects, then that's definitely something you want to try to incorporate. Another reason is many of these clubs, their members personally invited other people to join. So that personal connection, the personal relationships of members inviting their friends or family members and acquaintances, business partners, and so forth, the personal connection and the personal invitation was really important. Another common finding was these clubs were all flexible in terms of trying new ideas, such as changing their meeting formats or times or their dues structures. Many clubs have, the dues are very expensive and people can't afford it, particularly during times like the Great Recession or now when people are possibly out of work and just don't have the money. So if you can come up with lower cost alternatives, that helps recruit and retain members. And then the 5th common best practice was the immediate engagement of new members. So when a member joins, they got them on a committee, they got them plugged into an area that was an area of interest to them right away, and that's helped to keep people in the clubs. So any questions on that? This is about a 5-page report that'll be out soon, and I would encourage you all to look at it and have your club member share it with your club membership chairs and look for ideas that you can use to make your club more fun and vibrant.
Scott, I have a question.
Sure.
and as you've already mentioned, yes, I have a strong interest in working on developing a club in Washington City. It's a large part of our county that is underrepresented. My question to you is, where do we start with that process?
Well, we would need to find, first thing we need to do is find a sponsor club, a club that's willing to take that on and help stand up a new club there, and, you know, work with them, attend their meetings, mentor them, help grow them.
Well, but you said we need to have 20 members to start a club, charter a club, which I understand. But where do we start to find those 20 members? Do we start with the city council? Do we start with the schools or the churches or the community, or what?
Well, I mean, there's different ways to do it. I mean, if you know, the sponsor club, if they know somebody, you know, again, it's that personal connection. If they know somebody, that's a, you know, place to start. Or you can just go out in the community and you know, hold some information meetings and, you know, gauge the level of interest, see who may be interested in joining. And there's, you know, different ways to do it. But
okay. My other question is, if one of the number one reasons why clubs don't want to sponsor a new club is the fear that they're going to lose some of their members to that new club, which I get it. I understand that concern. Has Rotary International done anything to mitigate the loss of club members to one club who join another club?
not to my knowledge, but I mean, that's always, you know, it's always it's been a bit of an issue where, like, a club starts a satellite club, because initially when you start a satellite club, those members are a member of the sponsor club. So when they go off on their own, it looks like a big loss to that club. But I mean, I think it's, I think we can overcome it. It's just, it looks bad on paper, but I think if everybody's in the loop and they understand why, and I think it's something we can overcome.
Well, and the other thing that I'd like to mention too, Scott, is that when we lose a member, we have a member who is moving to the Wasatch, or to the Utah County, and we're gonna take him off our rolls, but he's going to join another club, and he's currently looking at that as a possibility. So it does look like but they've gained somebody. So, you know, that makes me and our club cranky, because it shows that we've lost a member. But what I'd like to suggest is that happens, that our clubs around the district know that there's somebody there who's looking to join one of their clubs. And how do we do that? I know we get the what do they call it when somebody expresses an interest? And
Well, I mean, that's happened a couple times. You know, like, I know the Dixie Sunrise Club had a member that came down from Park City and joined.
right.
And we just had, we sometimes get through the membership leads that come into the RI website.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Some of those are Rotarians that have moved from someplace else. Like, we just had a Rotarian from Walla Walla, Washington, of all places, moved to Salt Lake City and joined the South Valley Club. So, you know, that happens, and I think it's only natural. Since you can't be a member of two clubs at the same time, so when somebody, quote, transfers, that the club that they're leaving has to drop them from their roles in
Sure.
order for the new club to add them.
But is there a way that our member, does he just go to does he sign up as a lead, or?
Yeah, they can, some do, but they don't have to. I mean, I think as long as the two club secretaries can coordinate it. The club they're leaving, and the club they're going to. I don't know why some people do that, but we've had several leads like that lately. But they don't have to do it that way. They can, but they don't have to.
So as a club president, is there somewhere that Suzanne could say, okay, Bill is moving to Logan, would she just notify all three of the Logan clubs, or the Brigham City Club or whatever, or? Sure.
Yeah, I think, president to president and secretary to secretary, that works. Person can go through the lead program, but sometimes I think I personally don't think it's that necessary. I think it's probably better just to do it club to club.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just a couple other things under the category what's necessary, since we're on the subject of leads. So we have a membership lead program through the RI website, and we actually occasionally get submissions through the district website, but the great majority, so this year, since July 1st, the district has processed about 50 leads, and 2 came through the district website, the rest came through the RI website, and so far, year to date, of these approximately 50 leads, 9 have joined clubs. Last year, we had 8 people join clubs through the lead program. So it's not an insignificant, it's a fairly, when you stop and think about it, we've had almost 20 new members to the district through the lead program. And for whatever reason, most of the leads seem to focus on, on the clubs up north. So not everybody, not all the clubs have been involved, but the clubs that have been involved have been very responsive. So I would just encourage you, if you get a lead, to jump on it, and I'll work with you on that process. But basically, it's just, we furnish the contact information, and you invite them to a meeting and go from there. The other thing I want to mention, excuse me, is to encourage your club membership chairs and even you as Ps to look at the membership page on the district website, because there is a wealth of information and resources available to you. There's a document called the Membership Resource Guide, and this is put together by RI. It's about a 5-page document, but it's just a list of documents and the links to those. And there is just so much information there on whether it's starting a new club, starting a satellite club. So Linda, getting back to your question, there's a detailed document there on the process of starting a new club or starting a satellite club. There's another document called Rotary Club Health Check, which is a really good tool for you to use to get at what's working and what may not be working so well, and opportunities for improvement in your club. So there's just if you don't remember anything else from all this, is please go check out the district membership page if you haven't already, and look at what's available on there. And then finally, I don't know what the status of our assemblies are going to be this year. It's kind of up in the air, but if we do hold them, I would encourage you to have your new board members attend, in particular your club membership chairs, because that's where we'll put out more detailed information we'll have more time to talk about it in more detail at those assemblies, or if we don't hold the assemblies, then we'll try to get that out to the clubs, maybe in small club clusters, where we can meet with the club membership chairs, of several clubs at a time. So, any questions? Any other questions that anybody would have? Well, if not, thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Okay, I think, Linda, unless you want to take a minute, we can take a short break. This 4 hours is a long time to be sitting at a desk. I really would encourage those of you who are participating to go stretch your legs, use the restroom, get a snack, do the things that you need to do. If you need to make a phone call, check email, now is the time to do that, and then come back in 20 minutes. I am going to put on a little bit of Kenny Rogers. Guy, sorry. Kenny passed away last night. I think we're all at just about the right age to remember and appreciate Kenny Rogers. So I'll put a little Kenny Rogers on for the break. We'll reconvene at 10 o'clock, and Mike Wells, I think, is on at 10 o'clock. All right? So don't be late, but please take a few minutes to take care of all those things that you need to take care of. All right? So I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so let's get started here. I hate to turn off Kenny Rogers, but it's time for Mike. So Mike, looks like you're online. Take it away.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sound check. Great. Well, thank you. I'm excited to be with you. I want to go with something Linda said about, we got to have some fun with all this. We got to laugh and enjoy. I got a text from my brother last night that kind of put some funny things into perspective. Personally, I'm been asked to, my doctors asked me to isolate myself because of my history with my lung condition, and so not to practice anymore, at least for a few weeks. So I'm stuck at home, but I got a text from my brother last night, and it was a blueprint of his home, and the heading over it said, looking at the map for possible travel ideas this weekend. So we gotta have fun, gotta laugh. This will pass. I mean, this is, there's some amazing minds that are working really hard. I'm on the Tulare County Health Board, and everybody's working really hard to mitigate this thing and to be stronger through it. So hang in there. It's all gonna work out. I'm excited to talk to you about youth programs. It's something I'm very passionate about. If this is possible, I would like the PEs, if you wouldn't unmute for just a minute and maybe share with me what your clubs are doing with what youth programs are you sponsoring or supporting, or kind of where you're at with each of your clubs. So could we do that? Unmute for just a second and share with me where you're at with your youth programs.
Well, Mike, let me go first.
Okay.
I hate to hog, but
No.
I am the PE for the E Club, and we have done very little with a formal youth program, but what we are exploring and hope we can get help from the district in doing is launching and supporting an Interact E-Club for all the high schools in Utah that don't have an Interact club. And so that's what we'd like to do. So that's just kind of where we are. We're at we have a clear idea of what we want to do. That's all.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's sit down and talk. I've been approached by the state organizer of the homeschooling kids about how they could be involved with Rotary, and that might be a great.
Oh, that's a perfect synergy. Perfect synergy with us.
Exactly.
That's great.
So
Start there.
yeah. So we'll get together because that could be a great a plug-in. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and get forward. So when we talk about Rotary Youth Programs, I'm going to go really quickly over our basic programs. We have RILA, and you know, Linda, you talked about having fun in Rotary. I can't encourage the Rotarians enough to come and visit RILA. They're any of them during the RILA time. Everybody's welcome to come up, just see what's going on. They're welcome to come as a participant, which is even more engaging and life-changing, even for our Rotarians. So RILA is the perfect example of the way Rotary can be. It can be impactful, it can be inspirational, and it is really a lot of fun. And the skills that Rotarians can learn at RILA are things that they can take back to their clubs, energize their club, make it fun, and then involving young people is a great thing. RILA is also the way that we can really galvanize our Interact clubs to strengthen, because we ask in our club, anybody that wants to be go to RILA, you can expect to be an officer and help us to strengthen and stabilize our Interact clubs. And so they get the tools up there, they come home and they help our Interact clubs grow and bring that energy. But what we're not doing well as clubs is we're not capitalizing on that energy. We're not making them come back and holding them to that agreement that we had with them, that they would sponsor and strengthen those clubs. So as a district, I think we have one of the best RILA programs in the Rotary. It's incredible, and we lose that power when our clubs don't expect these young people to come back and to help strengthen their Interact clubs. So that's an area we really want to work on. Rotaract, after RILA, we go to Interact, and like I said, those two are really together. We want to take that power, bring it to our Interact clubs, and for Rotarians, challenging, one of the best ways to help with those Interact clubs is engage them in everything you do. We don't do a service project that we do not invite our Interact club and our Rotaractors come participate, because that's where they're going to feel comfortable. They're going to enjoy the opportunity of being with the Rotarians and seeing what it's all about. If we want to grow Rotary, we need this group to feel comfortable and feel like they're a part of what we're doing with Rotary. And this is where we get started, introducing these Interactors to what Rotary is doing and making a difference in the world. And then also we have our Interact service project, which of course is not happening this year, but next year we will have our Interact service project where we go to Mexico for a week, we build houses. This is where a lot of young people really get the service bug and learn all about what possibilities are for them in Rotary. So a lot of great things for the Interactors. I'm going to run through these different programs, and then I want to come back and talk about some of the things we've got coming up and how we can help support you in these youth programs. So a lot has been talked about Rotaract, and this is going to be a big focus for Rotary International. This should become a focus for the clubs, because what we're trying to create is a better transition from high school, college into Rotary. And so what we're asking is our Rotaractors to go and visit our Interact clubs, talk to them, get them excited to come into Rotaract. And then as Rotarians, really strengthening this bond, this connection with our Rotaractors. In our club this year, we created the first dual membership Rotaract club. So they're members of the Tulla Valley Rotary Club, but they are also members of the Tulla Valley Rotaract Club. And so they're dual memberships. They have all the opportunities that come to them through Rotary International. And with the new guidelines and stuff for Rotaract, there's no limit on their age. And so we have the opportunity to reach out to these young people and make it work for them. And that's the big key for Rotarians, and as we struggle with the whole membership, how to help Rotary grow and get us fingers, the dynamics with young people, especially the Rotaract age, there's a lot of things going on in their life. They're busy. And so we are working as Rotarians to create value for them to be a part of Rotary by adapting schedules and due structures so that it's workable for them. So it's something that say, yes, I can do this. My experience with this age group is they want to do something. They want to leave their mark. They want to make a difference. They don't know how to do it, and they don't have time for it. And so we are working with them. We're creating some programs within the youth organization, doing some really exciting things that I'll talk about in a little bit later, that are engaging young people through a community, corporate, local business initiative. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But that Rotaract age, so much emphasis that we're going to be doing, focusing on really reaching out, finding what will work for them, getting them involved, getting them engaged, and helping them see the value and the wisdom and participation of Rotary International. So some very exciting things there. Our youth exchange, we're doing some new things here, and we really have been reaching out, and we're going to have a great group that's going out this year. Youth exchange doesn't get as much information because it's smaller. It impacts only a few people, but it can have a big impact on your club by hosting a youth exchange student. Because I think one of the great things about Rotary, and what my experience over the years and being a participant in Rotary, is this amazing network that develops as we do global projects, as we do youth exchange students, as we host them. We get to know more about their countries, about their Rotary clubs. All the cross-pollination that we can do in Rotary, to me, is one of the most powerful tools to energize Rotarians and to get more things done. One of the purposes and motivations for me to do a district conference in Mexico was to have all the clubs working together on common projects and interacting, cross-pollinating, working with each other, because there's tremendous power as we come together, as we work together and get different ideas. And that's all what we're trying to create, is this tremendous synergy of Rotary. And I tell you, it's impactful. It's touched my life. And as we get these Rotaractors, and they have great networks too, and we reach out and we work with other clubs and plan things with other clubs, it can really make some things happening. And that's what with youth exchange, like I said, it can be a smaller group. We'd like to expand that to make it bigger, just that more clubs are impacted. More clubs have this international experience. I know my wife and I hosted a young lady from Argentina, and this is, it's over 10 years ago, but yet we still maintain daily contact, not every day, but we maintain contact. We talked to her at her invitation. My wife and I went down to Argentina, and we were going to be with her and her family, but she got a job and had to move to Washington, D.C. So we were in Argentina and spent a wonderful week with her family as she was in D.C., but still the experience that we had in going to Argentina, meeting her family, and making that connection with their Rotary in Argentina, it just makes us want to do more, wants us to be more connected. So I just challenge every one of you. We sometimes get caught up in our silos, and we just get involved with what our club does. But involving the youth and doing youth projects that involve multiple clubs is a great way to bring other clubs together with your Rotary clubs and do eventful projects. And I can tell you, we talked about having fun. Anytime you do youth projects, fun is always an important part of it, and food. I got to tell you, that should just be in your budget. If you want to do youth programs, you have to have a food budget, because if you'll feed them, they will come. That's just how the young people work. So, but it can be a great energizer for your club to engage multiple Interact clubs together. Sometimes, depending on how your schools, if you're more rural, you're going to have one Interact club per school, but you may have some community clubs. There's a lot of different ways that we can do this. But our goal in youth is to create a new generation of Rotarians. That's what we want to accomplish. This might sound like we're doing a membership presentation as well as youth, but that really is the future of our organization. And so this moving young people through Interact into Rotaract and then into becoming Rotarians, this is how we can do this. And we've got some great things coming up. One of the things that we're going to, one thing I'm working on right now, like I said, I'm a member of the Tuolumne County Health Board. I'm working with our Tuolumne County Health Board. How can I create a youth-driven service project where we can go out to and make our senior population that is not able to get out and go and pick up grocery supplies and prescriptions and deliver them to these families. So I'm kind of working on some things right now with our county health board to maybe create a model that we can use throughout the district, as far as that is completely safe, follows all of the state guidelines, but allows our young people that are, and it would be a really good time to have them engaged in things, to be able to participate in something like this. We could do, like I said, if I can finalize this model, get the governor's approval, then we can implement throughout the state. Just this short-term time where things are going to be tight, and maybe the senior will need some help. So working on some of that's specifically with our Interacts and Rotaracts, and I'll give you updates on that. One of the things we're going to challenge all the clubs to do this summer, especially everything's kind of disconnected right now because of the coronavirus, but things are going to settle down before school starts up again. Most of what I'm reading that, by July, things are going to start getting back to normal here. Before school starts, maybe the beginning of August, have a big project. And this could be a multiple club project, but particularly a club, and sponsor their interactors, Rotaractors, come and do. And what we've done in the past works really well for our club is that we have a small park, and every town usually has many parks. We have a park that we talked this year, we'd like to do a cleanup. And we bring everybody together, the club members, the interactors, and we do a cleanup. It usually takes us about a half an hour. Just go through, we clean everything up. And then we have a big barbecue, hamburgers, whatever. We all get there and eat after we finish our cleanup. And then we talk to them about Interact, talk to what we're going to do this year, get them involved, get kids to sign up, get their phone numbers so we can text them. And we find this is a great way to kick off the school year, to get kids knowing about Interact. And then after school starts, then we'll have another get-together meeting and get kids to sign up for Interact. So if you want to get it going, and particularly with the disconnect that we're having right now, we found this is a very good model that helps us to re-engage young people, talk about some of the goals, some of the opportunities they're going to have to, and we do that right there in that August meeting to get them excited about being a part of what Rotary's doing. So we encourage everybody to do that. That's effective, gets things going. And then one of the things that we're going to be doing that'll be new this year that I've always struggled with, I felt the assemblies were just not getting the nuts and bolts out to our members on how to help and provide resources for our youth programs. So we will be doing 4 regional training sessions in September. It will be after the school year started. By then, we're hoping all these Interact clubs will be organized. They'll have their officers. We'll have their RILA participants selected by them. We will be going every Saturday, probably in September, traveling to a different region, and we'll have a training. We'll all meet together. We're inviting all of the youth officers, all the Interact participants, and all the Rotarians to participate, but specifically we need advisors and youth chairs and anyone that will be involved with the youth programs. And so it'll be a 2-hour, we'll do Saturday morning. We'll have a 15-minute rah-rah, get them excited, and then we will split up the adult Rotarians into a training session, and we'll take the young people and we'll put them into a training session on how to, and we'll use the RILA, so it's going to be a really active, interactive, fun hour and a half with the young people to get them excited about being involved, and then also teach them some leadership skills, how to do a service project, how to run a club meeting, some basic nuts and bolts to help our young people be more successful and interact. And this will be for Rotaract as well, and also for our Rotarians to know what they need to do to support these young people. Another thing that as you know, times have changed, we've become much more aware of the need to re-emphasize and re-strengthen our youth protection policies. We have a good policy online, but things are changing. And so one of the things we're going to do, starting with District Governor Linda's year, is we're going to start doing youth protection training. Now, we're going to grandfather everybody into her year, but starting in July 1st, 2021, we will require every club to be certified to be able to sponsor youth programs. In other words, if you want to have an Interact program or Rotaract program, you have to have gone through a club certification program. We will be doing some of that club certification when we come out. We do these regional meetings. A Rotarian can get personally certified. To get a club certification will require that every Rotarian that is engaged with youth programs, that whether it's a youth exchange host or is an advisor for the Interact, not just the Rotarians that just, you know, we meet together all like for a fun activity or service project, but those that will be driving young people around, those that are serving as advisors, directors, will have to go through an online certification. It's simple, it won't be hard, but we need to make sure that our members understand the importance of this and protocols, what to do, and protocols that they need to follow to keep young people safe and to always have a positive and developing environment here with our Rotary Clubs. So that's something that we're going to be taking very serious. We're developing that will be really be ramping up in Linda's year. And like I said, that it will become official for clubs to be, they must be certified to participate in youth programs. Every Rotarian that even if it's just driving somebody up to RILA or that is, you know, is connecting or working, will have to also have background checks. That will be part of that. It's just, this is what we have to do to protect our organization, protect our Rotarians, and to protect these young people. So it's just one of the things we need to do. We got to work on, and it's going to make a difference. We'll have our youth advocates will be coming around to the clubs as well, much like an AG, just checking up, identifying themselves, hopefully doing a presentation during the year to the club of the resources, the things that are available with Rotary, and support their clubs and what their programs are. We are expanding the youth program so that we can provide better services. We have a youth foundation. We're really going to be focusing on the districts has asked if they can, in the past, support us with district funds. But with this youth foundation, we can be self-funding and fund the programs that in the past the district has done, but it will require, we'll need more Rotarians to get a Rotary license plate, which is a great thing. I found it's really good for me to have a Rotary license plate, because instead of getting mad when I'm driving because somebody got in front of me and maybe doing not a good salute or something like that, I say, oh, I got a Rotary license plate on, I got to be a good example. So it's a great thing, lets people know we're Rotarians, but it does, it's a $25, I mean, for $2 a month, you're supporting the youth programs in our district and allowing us to do, helping these young people to participate in maybe some programs that they couldn't do. So that's another thing that we're going to be focusing on. I talked a little bit more about the Rotaractors. We are we're piloting a program here in Tooele, and it is, we're calling it the Rotaract Youth Community Service Corps. And this is a our mayor and our county commissioners have signed on to this. They're supportive of this. We want to create with these young people, 18 above, to become engaged in service. And they'll do that by the businesses are going to sponsor them. We already have 10 businesses signed up that are ready for us to get going, that will sponsor, pay the dues for one of their employees to participate in the Community Service Corps, which will meet monthly, and we'll have a service project monthly. And working with the community, we see some great opportunities here. We'll keep you abreast of what we're doing here, but we're creating some great energy and excitement here in our community as a way, because my experiences I deal with, and as a business owner myself, is we want to be known in our community as a community partner. And we want to be seen as giving back to the community. And I've not met a company yet that I've talked to that does not want to have that kind of image in the community. They all want to do. And so this is a way they can involve a young person from their company, come and participate, and then we will be able to publish as a group in our local paper and our social media. This is what companies are supporting, what we're doing. And then each month when we do a project, we'll go to our sponsoring businesses and say, this project this week's going to cost about $250. We'd like to invite you to sponsor this particular event. And if you do, then your entire company can come and involve. And so you can get a lot of also social media attention. Your company is, there and participating and be involved, being out front so they can see them. So a really amazing opportunity. Honest to goodness, I see some great opportunities for us to really reach out to these young people with support of their employers and make a difference. And we will be creating Rotarians. So it's really exciting. So in my last few minutes, I just want to share what a blessing it is. Even in challenging times, we find that really it's about caring about other people. And that's what we would do as Rotarians. We want to support, we want to help, we want to make a difference in the world. And this is, it's a frustrating time for me. I'm going to be stuck in my house for a few weeks, but at the same time, this is an amazing opportunity for me to finally have some time that I can get and start working on some things that I want to do, and reach out to people and make, even though we can't maybe do face-to-face connections, small things with those people and your neighbors or people that don't get contacts. Take a moment, reach out. How are you doing? Everything okay? That, in our electronic age, we do have that ability to make contact. And that's what Rory's about. It's regular people making a difference, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. And these young people, I am trying to empower them. We can empower them as Rotarians. How exciting it is for an older person to have a young person come to them and say, what can I do to help you? Can I pick a prescription up for you? Just think how we can mobilize these young people, mobilize our Rotarians, even if it's just electronic, just connecting with people. It can have such an impact. And as we work together, I tell you what, America's an amazing country. I love the heritage we have as Americans. I have ancestors that walked across the plains. We're a hardy people. And actually, we need this. We need a hard time because we need to come together like we haven't in a long time. And I think we can do it. And as Rotarians, we really should be leading that way. And thank you. I'm excited for all the opportunities and possibilities that we can have even right now. So thank you. Are there any questions?
Are you going to wear we should all wear our Rotary hat when we make these contacts.
Rotary hat, got my Rotary shirt.
There you go.
Absolutely. We got to stop being shy. We got to let people know. That's why I have lots of flags and banners and let people know what we're doing. All right. Well, thank you. I will.
Thank you, Mike.
I will delete my face. Well, no, I mean,
Please don't delete your face.
No, I won't delete my face. I'll
We
turn
love
off
your
my screen.
face. Love your face, Mike.
Hey, Mike, be careful out there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I kind of thought it was coming. I went and visited my doctor this week. Says I'm going to get a police escort and take you home because you're not in a position that if something went down. So okay, go play smart. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Well, Linda, it's your turn to talk about public image.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's my turn again. Actually, I'm subbing for Pearl Wright, who is our newsletter editor at the moment, but is on July 1 will take responsibility for public image in the district. And I'm very excited about having Pearl in that position because she's very knowledgeable and I tend to be a little old school in terms of my PI experience, but it is a hat that I wear with pride. I have enjoyed being involved in public image and public relations for many, many years. And so when I was asked to be the PI chair a number of years ago, I jumped at the chance because it's something I love. So I'm not seeing any motion. Devin, I guess you're just in mute mode, right? Okay. So you probably have all heard me tell this or say this before, but for many, many years, way too many years, Rotary International has had the attitude that they should just not toot their own horn, not tell the world who they are and what they do, because people would just know by their good works. And I think most of us that have ever been involved in private enterprise know that that is not a working model for growing your business or strengthening your business. We all have a public image. People know what Rotary is about, or at least they think they do. For many years, there was the mindset that Rotary was I can't think of the 3 words that everybody used, but that Rotary was a club of old men who did nothing but get together and have lunch together, and that was pale, male, and stale. That's what it was. So we never, as Rotary clubs, want to have that image of being pale, male, and stale. I recently had the opportunity to attend the Springville Club. I didn't know anything about the Springville Club, thought they were just an ordinary Rotary club. And so when I got on their website and it didn't have an address. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll check their Facebook page. They didn't have an address either. So I called 3 or 4 people that I knew had some connection to the small club, and they finally gave me an address. And so we went there, and it was a motorcycle garage. Well, it was a motorcycle museum in Springville. Some of you may know that the site I'm talking about. I called ahead because we were traveling that day. And so when I got to Springville, I was just in my standard Levi's and black t-shirt mode. And so when I called them, I said, is it okay if I come the way I am, or should I go change clothes and get into something a little nicer, a little more formal? And the response that I got was really just a laugh. The person that I was talking to said, if you show up in anything else, you'll be out of place. And I thought that was a good sign. I got there to discover that they did have a speaker, but everyone there was in Levi's. And I thought, wow, if I wasn't a long-time member of George, and if I lived in Utah County, I'm pretty sure that Springville would have been a club that I would have been drawn to. It turns out that in the winter months, they enjoy their gatherings in the evening at the Sidecar Cafe in Springville, which is part of the Motorcycle Museum. But in the summer, they meet in the canyon, Provo Canyon, where they barbecue and just get together and have a good time every week. The reason I was there is because they were inducting their first female member in their club. And they are, just for trivia's sake, they are the last club in District 5420 to have women. So I thought that was a pretty good reason for me to show up there. Is anybody there? I'm not seeing any movement, or am I talking to open space?
No, we're all here paying rapt attention.
Oh, okay. All right. I just I just wanted to be sure that I knew who I was talking to. Okay, good. So anyway, on another note, speaking of the coronavirus, which Mike mentioned, there was in our paper this morning that the headline says, "Restaurant responds to virus by turning into a relief center." And that intrigued me. This is a small restaurant in Leeds, which is, I don't know, 15, 20 miles north of us here in downtown St. George. And as you know, in the state of Utah, all the restaurants have been closed down. He got permission because he's so isolated to stay open on the condition that he doesn't prepare food, but rather distributes it. What he decided, and he got this idea from a club in Texas, I believe he said, that he would take the food that from restaurants that was in their storage, and he would distribute it to restaurant workers who were now out of work. And I thought, wow, what a great idea that is. So here's somebody who turned lemons into lemonade. He's helping not only his own employees, but also employees all over the area, from some as far away as Las Vegas. I thought that's really what Rotary is all about, and yet we don't tell those stories as much as we should. In fact, I think there are clubs in the district that have never told their stories. And I'm not sure why that is the case. So I want to talk for just a minute about establishing a PI committee. Now, those of you PEs that are on this call, how many of you have a PE committee?
This is Eric, and I don't right now that I know of.
Okay, and Eric, how do you put the word out to your community about what your club is doing, and if so, how?
Well, we do have one guy sort of in charge of that. It's not, when you talk about committee, I guess it's a committee of one.
Okay.
You put it on Facebook and social media. We're not very good about other sources.
Okay, all right. And that's pretty routine. That's pretty common. Dale, how about your club? Dale's got a bit of a sleep deprivation going on. Where did you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Where did you come? Where did you just get home from?
Australia.
Oh my goodness.
We caught one of the last planes out. We don't have a committee per se at this time. We do have a chair that does our website. We do outreach to the Sugar House paper that comes out every other month. And we do internally, of course, a weekly bulletin, but we don't have a, shall we say, we have a committee of one.
Again, that's pretty routine, pretty common. Kelly, what about your club? Are you there?
She may be on
Okay,
mute
maybe he's
like I
awake.
was.
Oh, that could be. Suzanne, what about your club?
We have a PI chair that she does a lot with Facebook posting, social media, putting articles in the district newsletter, but that's really about it.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I'm making a note here to myself. Okay, well, what I'd like to do now is challenge you to create a PI committee rather than a committee of one. First of all, definitely you need a social media specialist. That is, in this day and time, that is number one. Everybody needs to be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever works for you in multiples. I encourage that. You also need, if you have a website, you also need a webmaster. Do you have a website and do you have a webmaster? And is your website current? As I mentioned, trying to find an address for the Springville Rotary Club meeting last month, I just about gave up. I just finally said, well, obviously, and I mentioned to them that, how do people find you? Well, we always meet here in the winter and we always meet in the canyon in the summer, so they can find us. Well, I'm not from Utah County. So you understand the problem. If somebody finds you and they don't know where you are, they're not going to keep looking. They're going to eventually go, okay, well, apparently they don't want me to find them. Suzanne, you're still okay. So a webmaster that's keeping things current. Now, your website should be forward facing. In other words, your website, for the most part, is designed to answer questions for people who are looking for you. So your website should be addressed to me or to Devin or to anybody who's trying to locate you, rather than that it's turned inward to your members. Social media works for your club members as well as your public, but it's got to be both of those. The other thing that you need on your committee is a good writer. I used to tell my children, and I have to tell you, my children are so grateful that I never became a school teacher, because they would have hated having me be the school teacher, the English teacher in their club, in their school, because they would have no friends. They were convinced of that. But you really need to have somebody who's a good writer, somebody that understands the English language, somebody who understands grammar, somebody who can create a sentence that makes sense. And it sounds easy, but it's really hard to find that person. You also need somebody who maybe has some kind of professional background in public relations, either radio, television, newspaper, social media, any of those kinds of things. And don't over, let me just kind of go through a few of the suggestions that I have handed out over the years. We've talked about the website and how important it is as a forward-facing tool for reaching out to the community. The local newspaper, we have the Spectrum, who is they're part of USA Today, and they are extremely difficult to get anything in that is local. They really focus much of their attention on national and international news, and things that are going on in the local community are just, I mean, it's really, really difficult. I used to be able to submit an article on Monday and it would come out on Tuesday's paper without any changes or corrections. And I thought that was amazing. And then they were sold off to Gannett, and then they were sold off to USA Today. And lo and behold, they're not even open to the public any longer. So there's a lot of unhappy people in Washington County and in the Southwest Utah because they can't get anything in their paper. I submit a lot of things to the Senior Sampler, which just as it sounds, is a newspaper that focuses, that markets to the senior population in our area. They publish about 1,000 papers a week, and they distribute them on Wednesday. And if you haven't picked yours up by Friday morning, chances are you're not going to get one that week. They're free. The Independent is another local paper, and they focus on the arts and entertainment. And Dixie Sun is the newspaper at Dixie State University campus. Each of those three independent papers have their own market. So if your market is seniors for your article, or your market is people who love the arts, now Dixie Sunrise, for instance, does a project called Evening of Elegance, which of course has been canceled at this point. But they would do very well to advertise in the Independent because that's their market. And Sun, who are we looking for at the university campuses, is Rotaractors. So good ways to, to market to the various communities. An article is appropriate for each of these, but there's also letters to the editor and editorials. Right now, the editorials that I'm most successful with are polio eradication, Rotary as part of the United Nations. And then there's advertising, which quite honestly, I don't think I've spent $100 in 5 years on advertising, because unless you're looking for a used car, you don't look at the used car ads. If you're not looking for, what you're not looking for, you just ignore the advertising part of any newspaper. There's also magazines. I have never submitted anything to the Rotarian magazine, but gosh, some of you have amazing projects and amazing experiences, and that would be a really good option for you. Email distribution lists, including nextdoor.com. I don't know how many of you are familiar with nextdoor.com, but with the click of a computer key, I can reach out to 3,000 households in my immediate neighborhood, including Sun River, Bloomington Hills, St. George. That's a wonderful tool, and it's free as well. Radio has public service announcements. we are lucky enough to have a incoming president in our club who is a former radio personality. In fact, we have two of them. And all we have to do is say PSA and they go, okay. Or we can say talk show and they go, okay. So that is an amazing tool. We had an hour on the radio last year talking about polio eradication, and we had Jay Jacobson come from the district. He talked about, everything that was going on, and people were calling in and asking questions, and it was very exciting and fun. We've talked about social media, but there's also newsletters at the Chamber of Commerce in various businesses around the area, and colleges, high schools, lots of places to get your name out there. Mike has on his Rotary shirt and his Rotary hat, but I have, and I don't know if you can see this, but I have one purple fingernail. Anybody know what that is about? I'm waiting, and nobody knows what that purple fingernail means.
Isn't it about polio or ending polio or something like that?
Yes, it is. Eric, thank you. You're one of the few that was about. But the exciting thing about that for me is that I get people who say to me, what's with the purple fingernail? And it opens the door for me to be able to talk about Rotary, about the Polio Project, where we are with all of that. And, the most common response I get is, oh, I didn't even know polio was a health issue. Well, it still is, because Dale just came back from Australia. But if I had the polio virus and I was on an airplane, all of those people would be, unless they were inoculated and had the polio drops, would be subject to developing that case. And that's why we can't let down on our efforts to eradicate polio. So a couple quick questions here before we end, because I only have 30 minutes. But do you know who your audiences are? And your audience is who's ever going to see your Facebook post or your website or your newspaper article. Does your website have broken links? So if I were to click on your club link or something on your website, would it activate where I needed to go? Is your logo current? Mike and I had this conversation last week here in St. George. We talked about, the old Rotaract logo, the old Rotaract logo. There are current logos, and you must use those rather than the old ones. And where do you find those? Anyone know where to find the new logos? They're new, exactly. They're like 3 or 4 years old. But do you know where to find those logos?
Aren't they on Club Central?
They're on Brand Center.
Brand Center.
Thank you. Yes. Brand Center has all logos, and you are encouraged to use those in place of. Do you have a Facebook page, and is it public or private group? And what's the difference? For those who don't know, who knows what's the difference between a public or a private group?
Public, anybody can see. Private, you have to be invited.
That's correct. So what is the purpose of a closed group? Why would you want to have a closed group?
Exchange information that you don't want public.
Yes, that's
updates.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, we have a closed group. It's Utah Rotary 2020-2021. And you are encouraged to get on there because there's frequent information from your virtual governor. And there's also an opportunity for incoming presidents-elect to ask questions without feeling like they should know that already. So that is definitely something that I encourage you. Does your homepage on your website have current key people listed? Can they access your president by clicking on your website, or is the president listed on there from 5 years ago? Do you have a current calendar of upcoming events? Is there an About Us link, and is it current? So what does your club do? What are they known for? And is it on your website? Do you proofread your work? I don't expect an answer, but I'm really guilty of that. And somebody told me one time that every editor needs an editor. And yet there's times when I'm in a rush that I just hit the submit button or the send button, and then I look at it the next day and I think, oh my gosh, I said this instead of that. And so please proofread. And give, if it's really important stuff, give it to somebody else to review to make sure that your spelling and grammar is correct before you send it off to everybody. So questions about public image? Anybody? Public relations? Come on, I've taught this before, so I know there are going to be questions. I'm more comfortable doing it in a large setting, but Suzanne, Eric, Kelly, Dale, Mike? What kind of stories do we want to write? Okay, go ahead.
We just need to get on it.
Yes, and it's not your responsibility as the incoming the incoming president, but it is your responsibility to make sure it's being done and that you have a committee in place.
I don't want to interrupt Eric.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, this is Dale. Obviously, circumstances vary. You in Washington County can sort of take approaches to any newspaper sources you have or radios. In the Salt Lake Valley, of course, there's so many competitive sources. There's a number of clubs, and it would be difficult for all of the clubs to be, shall we say, hustling the radio stations and the newspapers. I mean, what can a club like ours, that's part of a multi-club community, be doing in public image?
Excellent question. Excellent question. I suggest, well, first of all, we have two sets of problems. We are, as a smaller community, we know our media, we know our community, but we're still competing because there are 5 clubs in Washington County. Many of us do many of the same projects. Most of us do dictionaries. So obviously, if we are not going to rush to the paper to run each story about us distributing dictionaries. But jointly, as 5 clubs working together, we can say that the 250 members of these 5 clubs, or however, whatever the number is now, I don't know, are all doing dictionaries. And why are we doing it? And who are we targeting? And that will be, and polio is another, we're all doing this kind of article. In the larger, you may not know your papers, you may not know your radio, your TV stations and all of that. And honestly, it's got to be a huge story on television. And unfortunately, the last huge Rotary story had to do with a 70-year-old Rotarian who became enamored with a Rotary exchange student. Luckily, this wasn't in our district, but it was in California. And that's another issue that needs to be addressed, is what do you do when you have negative press? So those are, what I would suggest, Dale, is that you get with your other clubs and find out what they think are good stories that they might be running, and how can you work together on the ones that you share.
I'm curious, your 5 clubs in Washington County, is there some sort of coordinating on a message? For example, I could see a message on polio eradication in Salt Lake County. It would be in behalf of all clubs. I mean, do you actually have a strategy in Washington County to coordinate a story that includes all of you?
We have a president's council, and Suzanne can probably tell you better than I can what they're currently, how frequently meet. It used to be that we met once a month, and we would discuss our public image for the upcoming quarter, you know, what was coming up that we needed to address and put it out to the community. So I mean, if you've got multiple clubs and they're willing to do that, I would suggest that you meet at least quarterly to discuss these issues that you share in common,
And
including your PL.
And maybe you know, or Devin knows, is there such a president's council in Salt Lake County, for example?
I have not heard of that.
I haven't heard of it. I don't know if Devin knows of or not. All right, that's a.
But I would definitely.
Sorry, we just had an earthquake here in Salt Lake.
You just did?
Yeah, I mean a little one. But I was checking on my wife to make sure she was okay, because she was out and about, but she is well. She didn't even feel it. But
Okay.
upstairs we did. Sorry, I apologize for being a little
No,
distracted.
that's, okay. So Eric,
Pardon me?
you and Dale were on at the same time, and
Oh, I didn't have anything else. I'm good.
okay. All right. Okay, well, Pearl and I are both encourage you to submit your Club Hub activities to the district newsletter. We want to know what things have done this last month, and it's monthly, but if you get the newsletter, you can go on and see what that is. But it's called Club Hub, and it is an opportunity for you to say, well, our club did this. Club, we were involved in such and such. It is a district newsletter, so it goes to other Rotarians. I also suggest that you post your really good projects on Rotary Showcase, which is also on the Rotary website. And there's another site called Rotary Ideas where you can go on and get some ideas on what clubs around are doing as fundraisers or service projects. And certainly let's all pay attention to District Governor John's request that during this difficult time, we look for ways we can serve the community. Okay, no other questions. I will step aside. And Devin, who's next?
Well, it is Mr. Leckman, or Dr. Leckman, excuse me. Dr. Leckman is scheduled to be next. I don't see him on. Are you here, Dr. Leckman? Okay, let me just shoot him a text.
Oh, who's after?
You are.
Oh, me again?
Yes. So if you want to, if there's if there's a natural breaking point and you want to give a part of your wrap up session now while I track down Scott, you could go ahead and do that. Does that make any sense? Or should we take a 5-minute break while I track down Scott?
Whatever you'd like to do, Mr. Trainer.
It's up to you, Linda, because it's your presentation. We might divide up. And if you don't want it divided up, let's take a 5-minute break.
Let's take 5 minutes and see if we can track down Scott. And okay. In the event that you can't, then I will just close the meeting with my final comments.
All righty. Thanks a bunch. And if you want, I can talk a little bit about Foundation, but not a lot. Thank you.
Suzanne, I want you to know that we really enjoyed working with Charlotte in Denver. She's a great gal, got good ideas, open to helping in any way she can. And
she had a great experience, Linda. She talked a lot about it. So thank you for making her feel so welcome.
Oh, it was wonderful. And Dale, we enjoyed having Frank representing you. Good guy. Dale, are you still awake? Poor guy. I can relate to what he's going through. I'm going to circle back around. I don't know how many of you are still there. Probably taking advantage of that 5-minute break.
Linda?
Yes.
This is Dale. I was taking advantage of the 5-minute break.
That's okay.
Were you saying something?
Oh, I was just saying how much we enjoyed getting to know Frank.
Oh, all right. Oh.
Yeah, he's a good, strong Rotarian. He participated and contributed in many ways, and we were glad to have him there.
We've already met, and we're going to meet again, transferring information. But he's a real good guy.
Excellent, excellent. So. American still there?
I'm still here for a little bit.
Okay,
I have
all
some
right.
clients coming in probably in the next little bit, so I might not be available to answer questions.
Okay, well, let me just talk for a minute. Well, Devin is gone and whatever. But I just wanted to mention that we have made a 3-year commitment to Denver Pets. It's called High Country Pets. And we made a 3-year commitment. So this year was our first year. We have 2 more years that we'll be going to Denver, and then whoever is district governor at that point, I hope they will not decide not to go back to Denver, but it's really exceptional. And I just wanted to share with you some of the comments that we heard. And, you know, obviously we didn't get any of the negatives, and there may have been some, but I did not get any. One of the comments was, why haven't we done this before? And, you know, we've been one of the few freestanding, standalone pets in the district for very many years. And so I can't answer that question, but I thought it was a really good question. Okay. The next one was, I really enjoyed pets. After attending last year in Salt Lake City and again in Denver, I've described the difference between the two in one word, and it's energy. One said that Country Pets was elevated training. And my favorite quote, and I'll read this to you. Thank you for an amazing experience. This Pets was 100 times better than anything our standalone Pets has ever delivered. Our PEs, PENs, and AGs came away energized, inspired, informed, and connected in a good way. They are excited to start their leadership role and move their clubs in new and meaningful directions for service and fellowship. Now, we have a small slush fund going forward, and I do mean small at this point, that we help several clubs that maybe are small clubs that are struggling financially to be able to get to Denver. Devin, did we find Scott?
No, I have a foundation presentation that I have prepared and would be happy to give if you want me to take about.
I would, and we'll come back to what I was finishing. So go ahead.
Okay, I'll just jump in here. And I apologize. There is a 100% chance that if Scott is not here, it is my fault. Just so we're clear about that. Okay, so let me just say there are, I think, 4 things to know about the foundation. You know, we talk a lot about polio. We don't often connect that to the foundation, and so it's important for presidents to understand how that fits in. The annual fund is another key piece of the puzzle, and it really drives a lot of what Rotary does. And I don't think most first-time incoming presidents understand that. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll talk a little bit about grants. We'll try not to get bogged down on that. I'm going to stay high level. And then we'll talk a little bit about recognition. So let me just take you through these key issues here. So you're all familiar with our efforts to eradicate polio. We've been working on this for 30 years. It's been extremely successful. Since Rotary started working on this 30 years ago, we've reduced the number of cases globally by 99.9%. We've got to get it 100% reduced. That's the goal, and it is quite achievable. The evidence is overwhelming that, in fact, we can do this, and it's exciting to think about that. it's important to remember that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is matching all the contributions Rotary makes 2-for-1. In addition, the Gates Foundation contributes hundreds of millions more, but they give us a match so that Rotary can raise the maximum amount of money and really leverage our impact for good. But all of the money that we donate for polio goes to the Rotary Foundation. But it is important to note that that does not count toward the annual fund. When we give to polio, it goes to polio and does not come back to the district in any way, shape, or form. Our allocation now is $42 per person. Now, that's not an assessment. It's not a mandatory obligation, but trust me, Rotary is tracking that on a club by club, person by person basis. So we want to have each member of our clubs feeling like they have a responsibility to donate or raise $42 every year. That's not overwhelming. That's about $3.50 a month. So most people can give that, but those who can't should be encouraged to find someone who could give $42 on their behalf, so that each Rotarian feels that responsibility and participates. As a district, I think we cover that nut, but I think we also want to really distribute that sense of responsibility so that not only each club, but every individual in the district feels that responsibility. Now, let's just talk a little bit about the annual fund. The money we give to the annual fund, so when we talk about giving to the foundation, by default, the money goes to the annual fund. Unless we designate it for something else, it goes to the annual fund. And polio is the biggest other place we give money. There are a couple of others I won't get into. So the donations are held by Rotary International, by the Rotary Foundation, excuse me, for 3 years, and then they're returned. And essentially what that does is it gives the foundation an opportunity to hold the appreciation, the dividends, the interest on the money for 3 years so that they can use that money to operate the foundation. Our Rotary dues pay for the operation of Rotary International, but the foundation's expenses are covered by holding the money for 3 years. 50% of the funds are given directly to support global grant applications at the Rotary Foundation level. The other 50% goes back to the districts as district designated funds. And so a Rotary Club, this is where I want you to understand the impact of your donations. As a club president, it's imperative that you get this concept. The money you give to Rotary comes back to the district, and it becomes available when it comes back to the district for your club. So your ability to tap into this magic well of money is directly tied to the money we give. So it's imperative that we keep the giving level up. And our giving level has actually been dropping the last couple of years. So we're a little bit anxious about trying to get it back up this year during John Hanrahan's year and Scott Leckman's year as the foundation chair. The district designated funds are used 2 ways in our district. Some are given to the clubs for who apply for district grants. So your club can apply for a grant to do a project. Many clubs, for instance, have used the money for dictionaries in the past. There's some problems with that, but I'll set that aside for today. But if you are aiming to do a project, you can ask the district for the money. And once you have final approval, only once you have final approval, you can start on that project, complete the project, and submit your receipts to the district and be reimbursed for that money. But you can't start spending money until after you have your final approval. That's a key thing. But it's great to think about the fact that you don't need to raise the money in the club for all the club projects. The district, using these DDF, district designated funds, will fund some of your projects because of the money we give to the Rotary Foundation. And then the other thing we do with the district designated funds is that the district will match part of the money you raise for a global grant. And it's actually pretty generous. In the extreme example of doing the smallest possible global grant of $30,000, RI is going to kick in nearly $15,000. The district will kick in 10. The club that you partner with internationally should kick in several $100s, maybe $1,000, leaving only a few $1,000s for your club to raise. So you can do a $30,000 project and maybe you only have to commit $2,000 or $3,000 as a club. It's almost magic. It's really exciting to imagine the impact you can have somewhere in the world, even with a small club. So I talked about that concept, and here's the math here for a global grant. You see that the Rotary Foundation would give more than half of the money of a $30,000 grant could come from the Rotary Foundation. The district DDF funds could cover a big chunk. You see how it really works out, that the other club and the other district, if they contribute fairly modestly, the sponsoring club here in Utah may only have to contribute a little bit. So it's a very exciting thing to do a global grant. You can really leverage these funds on a small grant. It gets, the math flips to the opposite. If you're doing a $100,000 project, the club's got to raise most of that money. So if you're a small club, I would focus really on doing a very small project, the smallest possible project that qualifies, which is at least 30,000. Let's talk a little bit about recognition. The first level of recognition is every Rotarian every year. And what's changed on that a little bit is we used to say it was any donation at all, and that is no longer quite true. They don't count you as an every Rotarian every year unless you give 25 bucks. So you have to give 25 bucks to be every Rotarian every year recognized. And that's a designation that goes to the club. Then if you are a sustaining member, you give at least $100 in a year. And there is recognition for the clubs that have 100% sustaining members. And there are a number of clubs that do. You become a Paul Harris Fellow once you have given $1,000. And that is a recognition and a pin that is given to each recipient of that recognition. And there is, each club has some points available based on the donations that the club members are making that will allow you to give people a Paul Harris Fellow recognition early using points. And one typical strategy for that is to look at the number of, to ask members to finish their next $1,000, because you get a recognition as a Paul Harris Fellow times 2 when you've given 2,000, and a Paul Harris Fellow times 3 when you have given 3, and so on up to 10,000 when you become a major donor. But you can accelerate that for a donor in the club by matching their donations with points. You can just give them points, but most clubs ask the members to match. So that allows you to accelerate their achievement of that recognition and also accelerate donations to the foundation. It's a really good system to accelerate donations. A Paul Harris Society member is someone who gives $1,000 every year. And that sounds like a lot until you start breaking it down. And you know, on a daily basis, that works out to about $3. So most people, a surprising number of people, are able to do that. And so make sure that your club members know about that. I think there is one club in the district, I think it's the Springville Club, that has 100% Paul Harris Society members, which is amazing. So they're giving $1,000 per person in the club every year. Major donors, as I mentioned, have given a total of $10,000. Bequest Society members have pledged at least $10,000 in a future gift as part of their estate. Arch Clump Society members have given $250,000 total, and we've got a few of those. So there's lots of different recognition that you can.
And the newest one is the Legacy Foundation or the Legacy Society, and they give $1 million.
Yeah. So Linda is almost qualified for that.
Oh, yes. Oh, you bet.
I think I've got a video clip I want to share with you here to wrap up.
Our connections make powerful things happen, uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to come up with innovative ways to build sustainable housing and community centers. Everyone learning from each other. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. In your backyard and around the world, there's power in our connections. Take action with us. Find out more at Rotary.org.
Okay. So let's stop asking what our little club can do for the world and start asking what can't we do, because we can do anything. All righty. So that's it. Okay. Excellent. Why don't we turn the time back to you, Linda, and you can wrap up. Is that all right?
Back up my PowerPoint.
Yeah. So you can pull your PowerPoint up now.
Okay. Is that going to take me all the time it took me before?
Well, it might take all of 60 seconds, but we have plenty of time for that. So get your PowerPoint open and in the big mode, in the presentation mode, and then use your Command tab to toggle back to Zoom and click the share button at the bottom.
He says with his
Okay, so have you got your PowerPoint up on your computer?
I do.
Okay. Good. Then Command tab to get back to Zoom.
Yep. Is it open now?
Nope. So then did you click your share
okay.
button at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. And now do you see the screen with all the screens on it?
Yes.
Okay. Click the screen that has the big picture of your slide, the biggest picture of your slide that you want to display.
I've got that.
Okay. And then click share.
Okay. Not seeing share.
Oh no. What have I done wrong?
I'm sure it's me that's done wrong.
Okay. So down in the lower right-hand corner, there should be a button that says share. Do you see that?
No.
Okay. So do you see the green share button in the middle of the bottom of your screen? In the center of the bottom of the screen where you can see. So can you see me?
No. Okay.
So you want to, okay. So toggle back to Zoom so you can see me. So Command Tab, back to Zoom.
Okay. Now I see share.
Do you see me?
I think I'm there.
Okay, so then click the, oh, there you go. You got it.
Okay.
Shazam. Well,
Okay.
oh,
But it's the, you know, it's
the little
the,
one. But if
okay,
you,
I just have a smaller version.
okay.
Okay, so where did I leave off? Those of you who were following what I was talking about. So this is interesting time, as we've referred several times in this discussion. We have people that are, you know, really struggling with staying home, including who just can't hardly stand the fact that, you know, he doesn't get to go out and do what he wants to do. But I see this as an opportunity for us to be thinking preparation and looking forward. I sent out a letter the other day, probably Wednesday or Thursday, about some of the things that we could do remotely or from a virtual standpoint. And that has to do with planning upcoming events, you know, public image committee together, putting our membership committee together. So there's several things that you can do while we're waiting for all of this to subside. And hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, I feel like my role at this point is as the virtual governor. As most of you have heard, the conference in Park City has been canceled, and I just received a copy of an email that I believe has gone out. Maybe he just sent it to me to review, but he talks about the possibility that we all have a great opportunity to donate our registration fees for district conference to the Rotary Foundation Annual Fund or Polio Plus Fund. You can also get a full refund if you'd like to do that instead. But he is encouraging all of us to consider, since we've already paid, we've already registered, almost 200 of us have already registered, that we donate that to the Rotary Foundation. So this is something for you to consider in your planning, preparation, and looking forward. So I wanted to talk just briefly about bets. We have an awful lot of acronyms. We talk about RI and PE and PI and RYE, which is Rotary Youth Exchange, and RYLA. But as leaders, we know about, excuse me, we know about NATS, which is Governor Nominee Training Seminar, which is the first year of becoming a district governor. The second year is GETS, which is Governor-Elect Training Seminar. And recently we had PETS, which is President-Elect Training Seminar. And now I've decided that we ought to have Board Training Seminar, which I'm calling by the acronym of BETS, which is also known as District Assembly. Now, in the past, we've invited everybody who wants to come. It's still an open invitation, but primarily BETS is going to be for board members. And I'd really like you to encourage your board members to attend. And those board members will be your committee chairs for membership, foundation, service, public image, youth, and your secretaries and treasurers if they wish to come, and there will be a training component for them as well. And then open it up to anyone who wishes to come beyond those board members. Right now, that is scheduled for June 27th in the morning before the district governor installation dinner in St. George. I've got my fingers crossed because I know what the temperature is in St. George at the end of June, and no virus, sometimes even people, can't live in triple-digit heat down here. We are notorious for that. But June 27th, we don't know where we're going to be in from now until then, but I'm very hopeful that we will have pets in St. George the last Saturday in June. So fingers crossed that is the way that all plays out. We'll keep you informed in the event that anything changes, but for right now, that is my hope. So in the meantime, I would like for you all, you presidents-elect, to look for ways to teach your members what they don't know about Rotary. And hopefully that includes some of the things that we have talked about today. I love this quote from Maya Angelou, who was at one time the National Laureate. She said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." So as we look forward to Rotary's future, and we've already talked that, without younger members, we're going to die on the vine. But now that we know some of this information that can keep your club healthy and strong, and the district healthy and strong, and overall Rotary International healthy and strong, let's be sure and find a way to share that, even if it is virtual. So thank you for your time this morning. Do you have any questions at all that we can ask before we sign off? Okay. Well, thank you again for those of you who sent your substitutes to Denver, and keep picking their brains because there's lots to know. And thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day. I'm praying for sunshine.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank